Today's guest is Yanghee Paik, the powerhouse co-founder and CEO of Rael, a holistic cycle care brand that's gone from Amazon bestseller to global phenomenon.
Within 3-4 months, we became #1 organic pad on Amazon.
In just a few short years, she's raised tens of millions of dollars, landed Rael in over 50,000 retail stores worldwide, and expanded from organic period care products into skincare and holistic wellness. We're going to get into the scrappy early days, the strategy behind getting into Target, Walmart, Walgreens, and Ulta.
She asked us whether we were willing to change packaging. Of course, we can do anything for
Whatever
you.
you want. What it really takes to raise a $30 million round, and how she's building a brand that speaks to women everywhere. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to share your journey, your very inspiring journey with our listeners. So you started your career as an executive at Disney. I know you were in investment banking. Can you talk us a little bit about what started that out and what got you into entrepreneurship?
So actually, I started my career as a consultant, strategy consultant, and then I worked at Disney for almost 8 years. To be very honest with you, when I was in my 20s, my dream was to be in entertainment. So I followed my passion. So I moved to the States from Korea 19 years ago to go to business school. And my goal was to settle in LA and then work in Hollywood. So I was just building my career to get there. So I worked at BCG for 2 years in LA and then joined Disney strategy team and then moved on to the digital distribution team. So it's funny, it was my dream job actually, what I did at Disney, distributing movies. And I thought I was going to go back to Korea to revolutionize the Korean entertainment business. And what you see now in Hollywood, how Korean entertainment, K-pop, Korean dramas are becoming mainstream in Hollywood. That's what I thought I would do when I was in my 20s. So I think I'm one of the few entrepreneurs who completely changed the career to become an entrepreneur, basically. So until 8 years ago, I was so committed to doing entertainment, working in Hollywood, revolutionizing Korean entertainment business. And one day I met my co-founders and my life completely changed.
Did the idea come with meeting them, or was the idea kind of already something that you had thought about because of frustration that you had out of what existed in the market?
Yeah, so what happened was, I thought I was going to go back to Korea to do something with Korean entertainment, but then as I kind of explored that, it was not necessarily what I thought I would do. So I was kind of soul searching and then thinking about my next steps. And I wanted to do something that's more impactful, but still in a place where I can leverage my heritage from Korea, because I had this dream that I want to bring something cool from Korea and then introduce them to American consumers. I was really big on it. So I had that vague idea, but then entertainment may not be, what I am going to do. So I was soul searching, and I did an interview with a Korean newspaper one day, and then my co-founder read about me and then she reached out to me. So she was a complete stranger actually when I first met her 8 years ago. And my co-founder, Anes, she's a writer. She wrote about women empowerment, female leadership stories in her 20s. And she had a friend, Binna, my other co-founder, who was a designer. So I have a writer co-founder, designer co-founder. And they were looking for someone like myself with business background to run the company. But she didn't reveal that initially when she reached out to me. So she was like, Yanghee, I write about women. I read your story through the newspaper. I want to interview you. Let's meet up. So we met up one day 8 years ago. And we talked about life and shared our passion. And then she asked me hey, Yanghee, do you know anything about how pads and tampons are made? And I was like, that's a very random question, after talking about our passion and life together. I was like, you know what? I never thought about it. So I never thought about it, but I was like, should be natural cotton, And then she was like, no, actually everything is made with plastic. We're putting plastic into our bodies. And she had twins at that time. So she told me that after she had babies, she realized everything she was using and putting into intimate part of her body, everything was made with synthetic ingredients, plastic, and it's really hard to find anything clean and healthy and safe. So it kind of hit me. So it was something that I just never thought of in my life, although I use these products every month, and it's been over 20 years of my life using feminine care products. So it kind of opened my eyes to this new, area. And then we actually started talking about how every time we go back to Korea to see our family, we bring like a suitcase of Korean pads because Korean pads are so much better, like so comfortable, made with better ingredients. So we're like, oh yeah, people know about K-beauty, but nobody knows about the secret feminine care products from Korea that are better products. So kind of talked about how maybe we can bring the Korean technology to the US and it will be organic natural cotton, then it'll be a game changer. So basically she kind of like planted that idea into my head. So she's been thinking about it and she was looking for a partner. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to do something that's impactful and then where I can leverage my heritage from Korea. And although it was a complete shift from entertainment, I felt like maybe this is my new calling because I was feeling a little lost after kind of like not clearly knowing where my career was going to go from here. And then I could do something that would bring something very new to the US from Korean market. And then doing something for women's health was very impactful. And, throughout my life as a business major, MBA, I taught myself to think like a CEO, but, at Disney, I didn't feel like I could become a CEO anytime soon. So, throughout my whole life, I was kind of like an elite student, kind of like following the kind of like just like the regular path. And I felt like once in my life, I'm going to do something crazy and then see how it goes. And it was nothing I had planned, but this is something impactful that I may be able to leverage my heritage and also my skill set. And I jumped into this probably after thinking like 2-3 months, how I would do this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that you guys, you talk about the brand as a holistic brand. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you? And why is that important when we're talking about feminine care?
Yeah, so the initial idea definitely came from pads, like feminine care products, because, they're not made with, the most organic, natural ingredients. So that's the first idea that we had. But basically, we wanted to build a brand that's for women and women's health and wellness. And we kind of stepped back and thought about, all the problems women deal with throughout their hormonal cycle. So basically, period is the menstrual phase, like the first week of the cycle. And there are 3 other weeks, like 28 days, every woman goes through every month. So we're like, what kind of needs women have in the second week and third week and fourth week? And what are the hormonal changes that happen inside our bodies that drive all these like condition changes and needs? And it was really interesting to kind of learn about our own bodies because, when the estrogen level goes up in week 2, that's when our skin shines. And that's like the best skin week. And then after the estrogen level goes down and progesterone goes up, that's when we start having all these like hormonal acnes and breakouts. So for us, the starting point was, putting out like better for you products in feminine care. But then we wanted to do something similar in the intimate care space by launching natural feminine wash and feminine wipes. But our big adventure started with skincare because nobody talks about hormonal changes and how they impact their skin, but then we explored it and then thought that there is a connection between period and then the hormonal cycle and then skin conditions. Mm-hmm. So we introduced skincare like pimple patches and sheet mask and then hormonal acne-prone skin essentials. And most recently, we also introduced supplements for women's wellness. So basically what we want to do is provide solutions to cover all the concerns and challenges women deal with throughout the hormonal cycle that are driven by hormonal changes inside their bodies. And we always do that with clean ingredients that perform really well. And then we're also known for bringing innovations and also technology from Korea, as the founders of the company are from Korea.
So does that Korean thread continue on in every product that you make now? Or was that just something that really inspired you to jump in the beginning?
Most of it. If we cannot find a technology or manufacturer in Korea, then we look elsewhere. But we actually have an office in Korea. Okay. Yeah, so we're headquartered in LA, but we opened our office in Korea 6 years ago and then built our own product development team in Korea. So we do business in Korea, but we also built our product development team. So their job is to connect with all the top tier manufacturers in Korea and then learn their technology and then, new ingredients and all of them so that we can bring very novel products, from Korea to the US as a first mover. So by having that presence, in Korea. I think we can learn like the latest trends, the latest technology, and then how fast K-beauty trend, happens. So we can be the first one also adopting them. So in a lot of things that we do, it's a collaboration between the US team and the Korea team. And then US team knows what the American consumers need. And then our Korea team know all these like new things happening, in the K-beauty sector and also feminine care sector in Korea. So we bring them together and then try to launch something very novel that American consumers have not necessarily seen in the past.
So, okay, that's so interesting. And I love hearing how you met your co-founder and you were not expecting to go this direction. So I want to like hear a little bit more about the early days. So you said you thought about it for a few months. You finally decided to launch this brand together. Like then now what? I mean, you started with skincare, but how many products did you launch? Did you raise? Like I want to hear a little bit more about like how long it took to start the company from then?
Yeah. So we started with organic cotton pads and we launched on Amazon, which was very different from what everybody else was doing at that time in 2017 and 18, because that was like the heyday of D2C.
Yeah.
So our investors thought it was not as sexy to start with, Amazon. So we had a lot of trouble fundraising because of that. But what we initially did was, we wanted to focus on making really good products. So we found a factory in Korea. It was not as easy, to find a factory because like we were like nobody in the industry. So it was like 3 women, from the US trying to find a factory. But we found almost like a startup-like factory too, actually owned by young people who studied in the US. So that worked out. So coming up with the product was first. And then, deciding the distribution was next. But, we didn't have much money. We had the founder, seed money and also some angel investors at the beginning. And we didn't want to just like pour all the cash into marketing. So we decided that we're going to make good products, buy them, launch them on Amazon, not spend too much, but then see how, the customers, react to our product and then decide like how wide we want to go, fundraise more. What happened was, luckily, like right after we launched our product on Amazon, within like 3-4 months, we became #1 organic pad on Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah, and then this is 7 years ago. So, like Amazon was not as competitive. It was not as crowded. At that time, big brands were focused on retail. Smaller brands were doing D2C, and we were one of the very few brands who wanted to build ourselves, like establish ourselves on Amazon. So, with like little investment in ads, we were able to come to the top. And the real thing was like customer reviews. So, like Amazon reviews are pretty strict. So people actually write reviews after, using them. And I think there were a lot of people searching for organic pads, but they were not necessarily able to find, the good products they were looking for. And then after giving us a try, like people started leaving 5-star reviews left and right. So people were like, well, this is the best. I don't know the brand, but somehow it works. So yeah, it's made with organic cotton and it works really well. So they were leaving 5-star reviews. So just within like 3-4 months, we became a top brand on Amazon. And with that success, we went to the VC community and started raising money. And it was easy for them just to go to Amazon, read the reviews, and we're like, oh, people actually love these products. Yeah. So that's how we started actually getting some capital in order to invest in D2C and also a Target launch, and then started really building, our business, from there.
And why did you feel like, I know you were trying to differentiate through going through Amazon instead of D2C, but did you think like, oh, at least this way we don't need to really focus on acquisition as much and we can just focus on one channel? Did you still have a D2C website? It just wasn't something you were investing in as much? Like can we talk a little bit about that Amazon strategy? And even though you say there was less competition, you are, it still has huge conglomerates.
Right.
There's big brands we all know that people have used their entire life. It's very hard to convince someone to change something like their pad,
Yeah.
So just take us through that thinking and how you stood out in that space.
Yeah. So we launched our D2C website a few months after we launched on Amazon, and after we felt like, okay, we have a very compelling business model and product. So it was not that we'd never launched our D2C site, but it was like the second, channel that we launched. And our idea was D2C is expensive. We knew that people raise a lot of money to do Facebook marketing.
Give it to Facebook.
You know, and then just like acquisition cost is so high, you know, at the beginning. And in our case, we felt like making people understand the benefits of organic feminine care is already a challenge. And then we're making people to come to a brand new website and then purchase. It's just like so much capital and the resources needed to educate people and then make them come to the website and then convert. And then we felt like on Amazon, because of the scale, we already have enough people searching for organic pads. So we wanted to target the people who are proactively actually looking for organic pads at the beginning, instead of just like going out to the world and then like our marketing budget will be like a drop in the ocean, right? So with the kind of money that we've got, we felt like we cannot just like target the whole world. Let's just focus on Amazon, where people are actually searching organic pads, and then we can give them, you know, what they need when they search organic pads, and then the conversion will happen pretty easily, quickly, and then efficiently. And then after we build ourselves on Amazon, then with that success, then we can build better business after that. So it was a very conscious decision because of the capital needs and how expensive, you know, the cost of customer acquisition was at that time. And also we wanted to also prove our concept, you know, still organic feminine care was very new at that time. And we were very confident that this is going to work, but we wanted to test out our product and get a lot of customer reviews to prove our concept. And then what we actually did at the beginning was, you know, every review, you know, people wrote, we analyzed them. And then the next time we went to the factory to, you know, order more, we addressed their kind of complaints and comments and then try to make better products. So it took like 7 iterations, you know, to get to where we are now. So we were able to address, you know, the customer reviews and then like comments to make better products. So I think we spent like a year just like analyzing all the, you know, Amazon reviews and then perfecting our products before we launched them at Target. So I would say it was like, you know, kind of like testing phase for us, you know, to make sure that this is going to work for the mass market.
How much, I have 2 questions actually. How much money did you raise? And then also you're just like, oh, then we launched at Target. But that's hard. That's like, you know, people dream of launching at Target. So I want to know, like, how did you get to Target? You know?
Yeah. I mean, we actually ended up raising a lot of money. So
this is pre-Target though that you raised.
So pre-Target, we did our Series A. And then the theme, you know, like every fundraising round has like a theme. And then our theme for like Series A was like, we're getting ready for the Target launch. So we need this money, you know, to launch that. So we did $17.5 million round in Series A. Wow. And that was based on kind of like the success we had from Amazon, showing the success, and then, you know, kind of like preparing ourselves for the Target launch. And I remember, we had a really good meeting with the Target buyer. So we sort of knew that we were launching, but there wasn't like a written contract or anything. You know, we were just kind of like getting the indication that we're launching and we're getting there, but we didn't have like a paperwork.
And how did you get that meeting with the Target buyers?
So I didn't know anything about, you know, the wholesale retail space, and I did some research, and our investors, you know, connecting me with the right experts, and we learned that we needed a broker, you know, to go to Target and Walmart, and, you know, we knew that Target was the first retailer we wanted to work with. So we interviewed a bunch of brokers, and then we found the one that we wanted to work with, and then he helped us set up a meeting with the buyer. So we had one meeting with her a few months before the line review, because there's like an annual line review when they evaluate all the brands, right? So we had a pre-meeting with her, and then we were invited to join the official line review, and then we pitched like formally then. And then like we got feedback, and then we sort of knew that we were getting in. I remember the first meeting we went, so Minneapolis, I flew out there with like all these like samples, and, you know, and then had a meeting with her. And what was great was she already had seen us on Amazon and had seen the reviews. So it kind of helped that like we already had some business. We were a small brand, but at least we had some success. We could prove that the products were working. But, you know, the feedback she gave us was actually, you know, I like everything about the product, but not packaging. So we had a different packaging at that time, which was all in white and very pure looking. And the Target buyer's feedback was, Target customers like colorful stuff. You have to stand out on the shelf. Like, this may work on digital, but on the shelf, like you're surrounded by, you know, the big brands, and at that time all the colors were like pink and like purple and like red. So you have to make sure you stand out there. So you know, as a small brand, like, you know, she asked us whether like we were willing to change packaging, you know, for the launch. And of course we said like, of course we can do anything for you.
Anything for Target.
We can ditch our branding and like, you know, come up with like colorful branding. So I had to like say that on the spot, and she was like, good, then, you know, by the time we have the line review, bring me new packaging design and then we'll discuss then. So I think we had like 2 months to prepare that. So our designer, so we did everything internal, and then we came up with a few options, and then we involved the buyer to give us feedback. And then by the time we went to the line review, we sort of knew that she was really engaged. So we're like, okay, this is a good sign that she's giving us a lot of feedback, and then, you know, then maybe it will happen. So we changed the packaging. She liked it. And then like at the line review, we got some positive indication, and then we like worked towards the launch, you know, after that. But then during the fundraising process, although we sort of had that indication, because we didn't have like a paperwork, some VCs were like, well, like, we don't know yet whether you're getting in, so there's a lot of risk. And then some investors believe that, you know, like, just depending on where we are now, it sounds like you're getting into Target, so let's do it. So that was kind of like how we raised money right before Target, and then that gave us a lot of resources to buy product, and then, you know, just like, you know, also get like a sales, you know, team as well. So that was kind of like the first like milestone when we got kind of like a good capital in order to invest in the team and the business.
And do you have any learnings about that packaging experience? Like, did you guys hit the nail on the head and it was like shifting off shelves, or did you realize that there was still things as a brand that had never been on shelves before that you didn't do right?
Yeah, no, we actually learned a lot from our mistakes in a way. So you know, we got good feedback from the target buyer, so we thought we were doing everything right, but we overly simplified the packaging in a way that was very colorful and then very pretty, but it didn't have all the selling points like really written, like shouting on the front of the packaging. And because we were so used to Amazon, where there's like a title, there's like a bullet points, like PDPs, and then many images we can show, and all the reviews, you know. So I think we were overly confident that, you know, with the Amazon reviews and with what we've got, this is enough to, you know, to speak about the products. But, you know, like, there's so many people who have never seen us, you know, on at Target, and we needed to just like spell out all the reasons why they need to choose us over the products they were using in the past. And we realized that we needed to be a lot more vocal about why they needed to choose us. So we actually have made quite a few iterations of the packaging to make sure that it works on the shelf. And, you know, some of the learnings is that, you know, succeeding on digital is very different from retail. And then getting in is only like the beginning, and then staying there by showing velocity is the toughest part. And you have to do even more work and investment and marketing and you know, more innovation in order to stay there and then expand your presence once you get in there.
Yeah, I think the most common mistake people make is they just order a huge PO and they think like, oh, we're in Target, this is going to move off shelves.
Yeah.
Like, we're done. Like,
I
that's
know.
it.
Yeah.
And then really there's so much work in getting people to go to Target yourself, getting your own customers to go there.
Yeah, for sure. And also, you know, on digital, I think we took advantage of the reviews that we have accumulated, but on the shelf, there's nothing, you know. So I think we learned hard lessons, you know, after we got in, like all the things that we needed to do in order to move products.
And, you know, we talked about whether getting into Target immediately makes that big difference. Is there a big revenue difference when you make an Amazon bestseller for brands who have never done that and want to achieve that? Like, do you see a change in success overnight? Like, it's like, you know, when you have one viral post, you also don't suddenly get thousands of orders off the back of it. Do you see something like that physical change from Amazon bestseller status?
For Amazon, for sure. So once you get that Amazon bestseller, you know, that little icon, then it helps a lot. You know, it's like a big achievement, you know, it's like getting like an award. So that helps a lot on Amazon. And it does help when you speak to buyers, you know, at retailers, you know, they give you a lot more, you know, they think it's a lot more credible when you actually, you know, won that on Amazon. But I don't think it necessarily helps velocity in retail. You know, it just stays on Amazon and it helps get into retail. But once you're in a retail space, it's a completely different game and you have to do different things to move your products at retail.
Yeah.
How did getting in Target, such a success, and sounds like there were some challenges, but also some successes. How did that change the trajectory of the brand? Like, how did that help you guys scale in general?
Yeah, so it changed a lot because at the beginning, you know, we were very focused on performance marketing on Amazon, and we're not doing as much like brand marketing, you know, for brand awareness. But then once we got into stores, then you know, it was really hard to track like who's buying them and like, you know, how to convert people. And then eventually we needed to grow brand awareness, you know, for people to understand who we are on the shelf. So, you know, we created a brand marketing team, and then we focused on social media and then content and education. So I think the moment, or like right before we got into Target, we had to prepare ourselves to be a more like a typical CPG company. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, because like when you start, like you are very unconventional as a startup. You don't follow the, you know, the big company's rule. You can do your own thing. And then we thought we were very efficient, you know, by focusing on Amazon and doing performance marketing. But once the moment we got into Target, we had to play the game that all the big companies are playing, right? So had to invest a lot in brand marketing and then brand awareness. And I think we needed to learn to be patient too, because our Amazon success kind of happened pretty quickly. But then at retail, you know, I mean, these days there are like the TikTok viral moments, but other than those, it just takes time to educate people, you know, in the country, and then grow the brand awareness and continuing with the education and content creation and etc. So I think we came a long way, you know, to build the brand, you know, who we are now. But it definitely required like a lot of investment in marketing.
And at what point did you guys decide to start going into skincare and supplements and other products? Like, I think a very difficult thing for brands can be to start to introduce a ton of SKUs and then try to make all of those different SKUs profitable, right?
Yeah.
So like what inspired you guys to look in other directions?
I think we started skincare 2-3 years after we started feminine care. So it was not like from the very beginning, but shortly after we started, which is pretty atypical. You know, usually you need to be very established in your own category in order to start a new one. And if someone asked me if that was like a right strategy, then, you know, I may not have said yes. But we wanted to do something very novel and also unconventional. And then, like I said, we wanted to cover the 4 weeks of the cycle holistically. And feminine care happened to be the first opportunity that we wanted to tackle, but we saw so many other opportunities. And also, pimple patch was something that I was personally very passionate about. So every time I went back to Korea, I would bring like a bunch of pimple patches, and then my American friends like know nothing about pimple patches. And, you know, it's been there in Korea for over 10 years, and nobody in the US actually knew about pimple patches until like 5-6 years ago, if you think about it. So I was like, we need to introduce this. Like, this is a game changer. Like just like we thought, like, oh my God, like Korean pads are so much better. Like we have to make American consumers know about this. And like pimple patches was another thing that we have to make people like use it and know about it. So we started testing on Amazon first. So we were one of the first pimple patches on Amazon. I think we may have been like number 3 pimple patch on Amazon. Now they're like hundreds. Yeah. And I remember at that time when we were launching, like, oh, would Americans understand this? Like, would they know what they are? But, you know, but we tried that. And I think in our case, it was good that we used Amazon as our like a test bed, like test platform in a way. So before we invested too much, we tested the product on Amazon, and then people were buying it, like learning about it. And then it just kind of like took off from there. And then retailers started wanting, you know, our pimple patches and other products too. So it was kind of like a little test that we started to tell the holistic cycle care story. And then as like one product succeeded, then we had that authority to expand. So from pimple patches, we also had the facial sheet mask, and then we had the Miracle Clear line for acne prone skin. So it kind of all started making sense. So I think in order to really tell like a holistic cycle care story, you have to have a very thoughtful kind of like storytelling around it, because some people thought it was really random that a pad company suddenly is launching skincare,
Yeah,
like, you know, so
totally.
I got a lot of questions like, where did that come from? And then I tend to tell them that, you know, like we're trying to cover the 4 weeks of the cycle. And then the first one that we tackled was period care, but then we expanded to intimate care and then skincare. And then there's the hormonal acne, hormonal breakout that we're trying to tackle as a period care company. So yeah, it took time to tell the story, but we did. And then, you know, the skincare sort of like, you know, kind of became our next sort of adventure. And then that gave us a lot of confidence that we can continue building, you know, different categories. And I know we're doing something very progressive because there's no other brand who's like multi-category. But for us, like we're like a women's wellness brand that want to play multiple categories and then like tell a coherent story around holistic wellness.
I find it's really interesting because all I'm thinking about is like, I know that that's different buyers and probably different places in the store. So that's like adds a whole other level of complexity, not on Amazon, but at Target and other stores that you're in. So I'm just curious, like what is your most popular range of products? Because it does, I mean, I feel like you definitely need the customer education. Now that you've said it, it's so clear, but you don't always have that much time with the customer. So what's your most popular like way in for the customer?
Yeah, so the two best-selling products for the company are the organic cotton cover pads and the pimple patches. Yeah, so what's great is you may learn about the, you know, Rael through organic cotton, and then we continue to educate the customers that there are all these other products they can choose, you know, from us that are clean and effective and K-beauty inspired. So they like, you know, try other products and then continue building their basket. And then we have a little younger generation who learn about us through the pimple patches. So the organic cotton tend to be more, I think, appealing to the not older, but like, you know, like 20 and then 30s, who are more like professional women who start thinking about their health, not like the young people. And then pimple patches, it starts from like 17, 18 and college kids, and they learn about the pimple patches. And then while they were not as keen on using organic natural products, they learn about, you know, the benefits of using organic feminine care. And everybody uses some type of feminine care, right? So they enter the brand through pimple patches and some of the other skincare, and then learn about the natural Fem-Care, and then kind of like convert. So our goal is actually the entry point can be one of the skincare products or one of the Fem-Care products, but they kind of like converge and then learn about the other categories and then become our customer for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't think of the complexity of also having completely different demographics when you introduce
different
new
buyers,
products.
different marketing, different
but even the user, it's not even like it's another product for your existing user or customer. It's a whole other demographic and other group of people. I want to go back to fundraising a little bit because in your own words, like you raised a lot of money and that's very hard for a woman. It's definitely hard for CPG and has become much harder for CPG. Can you talk me through that fundraising process? Like I understand with trying, you know, going to Target and Ulta and Walmart and all of these retail places, like you needed the funds to produce the stock. But what inspired you guys to raise this Series A, and how did you find that process as somebody who was maybe a consultant, so was around the right people, but maybe had never run a process before?
So we did raise $17.5 million in Series A and then $35 million in Series B. So that was even like a bigger round. And what I learned was that, okay, so even though we didn't need money, we would take calls, you know, from all the VCs who reach out to us. So just like continue building the network, you know, and then get our name out there in the investor community. And it's always more effective when you tell your story while you don't need money. So I think that's something that we do well, you know, just like building the network and relationships when we were not fundraising. And then when you are actually fundraising, then they already know you and then kind of, you know, have like positive, you know, perception about the brand. So I think that was something that I recommend everybody to do. But for us, you know, we had a network of, you know, investors. And of course, like when we were fundraising, we reached out to some new investors and included them. And then internally, you know, we had to really get all the story right, data, you know, ready. And then also like really make sure that we know clearly how much we need and then what we're going to use that fund for. You know, we didn't want to over fundraise and also not not raise too little money so that we have to go out, again. So kind of like calculating how much you need and then what you're going to use the fund for. I think having a clear vision for that was also important. And then a lot of pitching, obviously. So, the first calls will be introductory calls just to get to know each other, but then pitching and then inviting the people who, are seriously interested, and then the due diligence process. But I think what's important is also having a lead investor as soon as possible. When there's a lead, like an anchor investor, then everything else, follows rather quickly. So I think it's important to sort of have a strategy around who you think will be the lead investor. And then once that's sort of like established, then have everybody kind of like line up, But Series B took a lot longer time than Series A. I learned that, I think it was in one of your episodes. So Series A, we were still very early. It was a lot about selling the dream and ambition. Like we just had a great success on Amazon. So it was about, we are going to go to Target. We are going to go do this. We are going to build like brand marketing. So people were just kind of listening to our dream and ambition and gave us a chance.
Were you still one SKU?
No, we had a few different pads and just getting ready for like skincare, but not like a whole lot. And then for Series B, that's after we, launched at Target. And then that's after we had a few skincare SKUs. And then our theme for Series B was we want to raise money so that we can truly be a holistic wellness company. We're still more Fem-Care than skincare, but with the capital, then we want to build our skincare portfolio and then eventually, get to the supplement as well to be a true holistic wellness, brand. So we had that vision, but there was a lot more scrutiny around all the data, sales, velocity, customer data. So we had to be a lot more buttoned up, I think, for Series B than Series A. So I learned that, it's like tougher and tougher every round. The more data, the more track record you have, you are a lot more scrutinized by the investor.
Poke holes in it.
I always say this to Natalie. I'm like, your first round pre-product, pre-anything is the easiest round.
Yeah.
People are like, that's the hardest, surely, because you have nothing to sell. And you're like, no, that is the easiest. The minute you have like a month of data, it's like, why hasn't it gone viral? Why aren't you in Target? Why aren't you just like, okay.
Poking holes.
Yeah. There's always a reason not to.
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning, like you can just sell how inspired you are by making
how
this
you're going to change the world.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, for us, it took some time, but we got it done. And we were very keen on, working with the partners who truly believed in what we did, because the holistic cycle, we had to explain a lot what it is, because people are confused, like, you started with pad and suddenly you want to become a skincare company. And we're like, no, we're not becoming a skincare company. We're going to become something very different. We're going to cover everything and become more holistic wellness company. That's our vision. But we had to explain a lot. And those who believed in, this new approach to women's wellness, gave us a chance, and who had a lot of doubts, did end up not investing. But it's just like a process. So while it's a process for them to evaluate us, it's also a process for us to interview or like meet a lot of investors and then sort out the ones who believe in us and then find the right partners.
Yeah. As someone who's raised so much money, and if you were going to advise anyone else who was doing it, like what's one thing you do now that you've done several rounds consistently that you would say everyone should copy?
I mean, like I said, I think building the relationship early on is important so that, you don't look desperate, when you're fundraising, because I think that's the biggest risk, when you fundraise, and you want to share your story in the right way when you're not fundraising. But my strategy, I think, was a little different from typical founders, maybe. I mean, I'm not the most like salesy person. So, there are some founders who just sell like a big dream and makes everything sound perfect. But I was not like that. I was pretty kind of like honest about what we do well, what we're challenged by. And because of these challenges, we need a partner who can help us, like fill the gap. So I think I may have come across more like genuine, not just like trying to sell, but just really be honest about, the challenges we faced, while we were growing the company. So I think in my case, that worked out pretty well. People gave me a chance and then thought that I was very kind of like genuine, honest founder who knows what we're doing and not just trying to make, package everything like, looking perfectly.
Yeah.
That's refreshing. I imagine that they were like used to like, there's some sort of like a little bit of a bullshit factor when somebody's like, we're perfect and we're going to do all of these great things, but you were refreshing because you were honest. So I imagine that just, helped break through the noise.
Yeah. And then, like I said, like in the earlier rounds, you can make it sound like everything's your dream, like everything's mission driven, everything will work out. But after a few years, you already face the reality and then you know what works, what doesn't work. So I don't know. I didn't feel comfortable just like hiding everything and trying to just look perfect. So I was rather kind of honest about what's working, what's not working, and the challenges facing in the industry. And I think that may have worked pretty well, in my case. Mm-hmm.
And you said between the two rounds, the second round took a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was the mistake that was made that happen? Or is it just part of the process of being a bigger company and requiring more data and, a larger investment, so people took more time to decide?
I think it's the size, of the investment, and also the industry was kind of, I think, evolving. So when we did our Series A back in 2018, still very favorable environment for founders, and there was a lot of money, cash with VCs, and Femtech was also pretty hot.
Yeah.
So I think just like the field we were in, and less scrutiny around profitability, it was a lot about growth at any cost. Yeah. So just as long as you had the plan to grow the company by spending, I think that was okay as a CPG brand at that time. And in our Series B, now it's like so obvious, but profitability started making becoming more important.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we had the strategy of like grow. But then you had to care about profitability. So like we had to change our strategy as we were pitching as well, because like there was a lot more questions about like profitability. So it was very different from the first round of fundraising. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was also like the industry sort of like the VC, industry is changing to focus more on profitability, and then like a bigger round, and also like we had more data, so we had to be more prepared. So yeah, that was like an inflection point, I think, in the VC community.
So now you've hit over 100 million in sales.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's incredible. A lot of companies do not hit that. What year in the business were you, and what's the mix now between like Amazon, and your big retailers?
Yeah. So, we're over 100 million, like starting last year, and still, Amazon is the biggest, revenue channel, followed by, wholesale. But things are changing very quickly as we're expanding a lot. But I would still say that we're like still like more digitally focused company, but quickly shifting to be more available in retail. And skincare has grown a lot, so it's almost the same as feminine care, in the U.S. So it's interesting when I go to events and meet our just random customers. Some people think that we are a beauty company. Some people think that we're a pad company, like Fem-Care company. And I try to educate them like we actually do both. We're a wellness company. Yeah. So I think we're at that point where, we have a lot of beauty customers, a lot of Fem-Care customers, and we're educating them to convert, to the other categories so that they understand everything that we do. So it's an exciting time for the company when, we're growing a lot. We're educating the market about the new approach to women's wellness. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now as a $100 million plus business, what is your infrastructure like? Like, how is that different from year one, year two? And how have you handled becoming that kind of a leader?
Yeah.
Because it's such a different job.
It is, yeah. So we have a lot of employees now, close to 80 people around the world. And like I said, we built our Korea business about 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago. So it's like half and half between the US and Korea. And we built our product development team in Korea, who helps get all these like newness. So that's how US and Korea team work together. And for me, it's amazing that now I have some senior executives, who can actually help me. And then we have a proper brand marketing team, product marketing team, supply chain team, finance team. If I think about like 7 years ago, I had to be everything, right? And that was like such a pressure. And then now I'm learning to kind of like let go, like delegate more, and then let our executives, feel empowered and then do more. So things have changed completely. And then also, we also adopted like IT systems, which are helping, the company. So definitely a very different environment. But at the same time, we like to keep things pretty lean and still very scrappy, so we don't lose that kind of like startup spirit.
Yeah.
So we still have that, but it's good that we brought in a lot of great talent and then kind of work with each other.
No, I love your Amazon test method. I actually have another question about that.
Yeah.
When you were already an existing brand and you were like, okay, we're gonna test pimple patches, did you not even put it on D2C, or you did put it there, but you just talked about it as something that was more available on Amazon?
We had D2C, so we put the product there.
Yeah.
But for us, Amazon was more the test bed to get all the reviews and analyze them and see how big the market would go.
Got it.
And then it grew pretty quickly. Yeah, even though we were not investing a ton of money in it. So it was a great business to be in when it was like growing really rapidly.
Yeah. And so now that you are managing 80 people across different countries, what excites you? Like, how do you stay interested? You know, for me, when I had to go from doing everything, which is to managing people, which is what I always dreamed of, when it actually happened, I was like kind of lost interest. You know, like you're so used to being in it and feeling the importance of it. How do you manage that change? And what inspires you to keep going?
I know. I very much enjoyed interviewing and picking the right talent at the beginning of the company, but now I don't do as much like recruiting, you know, so I think that has definitely changed. But for me, it's kind of like such a joy to see, you know, the talent and even like the junior people joining the company, and every year like seeing them grow and then like becoming like an executive of the company. So I still find a lot of joy, you know, just building the team and seeing the team members grow with the company. And then I feel like, you know, we also provided some platform for them, you know, to, you know, make a great career. So it's definitely part of like a motivation for me to see the team grow and then still make sure that we're bringing the right talent and then give them the right opportunities, you know, for them to really show their potential and then reach them. And for me to stay motivated, you know, to be honest, I go to Korea every 6 months for work. But at the same time, it's like something to look forward to, you know, even though it's a work trip. Like every 6 months I go to Korea, I see my family. But Korea changes, like it's a really fast-paced country environment that every 6 months there's like a new product, new trend, new brand. Like, so many things have already changed. So like, you know, I do my thing 5 months here in the US, and then, you know, I go to Korea to work with our Korea team. But then it's like a kid in a candy store, like going to like Olive Young store, like testing all these new things. So that's kind of like something that motivates me all the time. So I try to kind of like, you know, make my Korea business trip like a fun trip too, and like inspirational, you know, inspiration for me.
And when you do that, how do you decide like what's gonna stick?
That's like
how do you focus?
I know there's just like too many new things always coming out of the Korean innovation. So, you know, I spent a lot of time testing products and, you know, talking to our Korea team and also bringing them to the US so that we can test together with the US team. So I try to, I think that's evolution. Like when I first started, it was all on me. Like it was just my own decision whether this is going to work or not. And then now I listen to a lot of different perspectives. So it's not just like me deciding, but I'm getting like Korea team's feedback, US team's feedback, and then deciding what we think is going to, you know, work well, you know, in the US. So we definitely have more structured process to determine kind of like the next projects and next products.
And what's been the relationship with your co-founders through this process? Because you guys met, like you weren't long-term friends, you weren't family. Like, how has it been to manage working with people you essentially didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it was pretty crazy that I started a business with people that I didn't know in the past. Because like, you know, before I started Royale, I always thought if I ever do something, then I would probably do with my friends from business school or, you know, who had like similar background with me. But I think it actually worked out well because we're all very different. So I'm like the traditional business, you know, major person. And then my other co-founder, she's a writer, very creative, a visionary. My other co-founder coming from like a graphic design background, but she actually has an engineering degree. So she has like left brain and the right brain at the same time. And because we don't overlap too much, I think, in terms of skill sets. I think we knew what our expertise were and then kind of like respected, our areas. So we never really got into like a fight of like, it should be my opinion, like your opinion. We sort of like respect each other and then respect the expertise that we bring to the table. So it's worked out really well. And then at the moment, I'm the global CEO overseeing both the US and then Korean office. My co-founder, Binna, moved to Korea to open the Korea business. So she's managing the Korea business. And my other co-founder, she's more working on the board and not necessarily in the everyday operations. So like now, like things have evolved a lot and then we have our very distinct responsibilities and then respect each other that way. So I think it's good in a way that we were not like personal friends and then we always like approach things professionally and then kind of like had our own space. I find that there's like some commonality in that in a lot of co-founders. It's like the successful ones, they are in different swim lanes. They have different expertise and they're not stepping on each other's toes. So I'm curious also, if you had to start the company today, what would you do differently? Oh, that's a good question. Tough question though. I still think that Amazon is great or even like great or better, tested platforms. Yeah. So, it's not like I would invest in D2C, especially even more so now in this like day and age. I would probably bring the experts sooner than later. So, I think we waited quite a bit to bring more senior people into the company. So we were very scrappy for a long time. But if I would do this again, then I think it's worth bringing some senior people like more in the earlier stage so that, we can have a more like structured way of doing things.
What kind of people, like CMO, CCO, like C-suite type people? Or?
Yeah, like C-suite and, it's just like a retail expansion and then brand marketing, those I think there's a value of, bringing someone who has done what we've done in the past, to not make too many mistakes. So I think we learned through our mistakes, but if I would do it again, maybe kind of like minimize the number of failures or like the mistakes we had and then like do it right from the beginning.
And what's next for the brand? I think reaching 100 million, a lot of people are like, okay, you've done it, but there's actually, especially after a big Series B, a very big expectation of 10xing that. Maybe now it's 5 in CPG, but there's still a lot of growth that has to be done. And how do you think about that now that it has to be a completely different strategy?
No, I don't feel like this is like the milestone that we were kind of like trying to reach. I feel like, it's constant, there's so much more to do. And I think still, we're getting our name out there, growing the brand awareness. And for us, really educating consumers about the holistic wellness approach that we're doing and then making sure they understand why we're playing in these different categories and then making them understand kind of like, how to connect the dots. I think that's the first thing. We're really keen on telling our holistic wellness story and then make people understand the hormonal wellness, cycle and then the storytelling we're doing. That's the first thing. And then secondly, we had great success on Amazon, but, we're expanding a lot. We just launched at Ulta, last year. We just launched in the wellness stores too. So there's just still a lot of work to do to build a relationship with the right retailers. And like kind of you pointed out, we started actually very in a siloed way in retail. So, pimple patches are in beauty, pads are in the feminine care section. It's hard to know these are the same brand, but retailers are actually giving us an opportunity to merchandise them together, like in the display format, like end cap format, and that's really exciting for us, to be able to execute them in the brick and mortar environment. So it is like slowly happening. So we really appreciate the retailers who understand the vision of the company and give us an opportunity to execute them, in the physical display format. So I think there's also a lot that we can do to continue doing that. And then not right now, but in the near future, we also want to expand more globally. So we have a very thriving Korean business happening. And here in the US, we, I think, have other countries that we can expand, pretty soon. And what's great about feminine care products is that it's pretty universal. what
Yeah.
works in the US, will work in other parts of the world. So we're excited about the global opportunities. And I think it would be a dream come true if one day Rael becomes a global brand like Disney. When I left to Disney, I was like, oh, it would be like so inspiring to build a global brand for women. So if that happens in the next few years, I think that'll be a true dream come true for me.
Well, I definitely
When
think
that
you can
happens.
pull it off. Yeah. You've sold me on it.
I'm in.
We like to end these with a hot take. So it can be any category. It can be a hot take about feminine care. It can be beauty, whatever. But we'd love to hear what your hot take is.
Yeah. I would say you don't have to be like born to be an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because, I had a career in Disney corporate, never thought I would become an entrepreneur, but somehow my life changed after I met my co-founders. And I doubted myself, but I did find the entrepreneur spirit out of me. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually, I may have been born to do this. But I feel like a lot of people think that entrepreneurs are its own personality, like eccentric, or you have to be a genius, but it can be actually anyone, with an idea. So that would be my hot take.
I think people will love that hot take.
I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you
That
so
was
much
so
for having
interesting.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you liked the episode, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below.